Hey, what's up everybody, this is BrynLS here, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a music theory lesson here, okay? Basically, we're looking at two particular aspects. We're going to be looking at what I call the chromatic wheel, and we're going to be looking at how you can use the chromatic wheel to actually create scales out of them, particularly the major scale. So that's what we're going to be focusing on this particular lesson, for this particular video. Alright. Before we get into anything else, we need to learn some terminology, okay? Now, it is expected that you know all 12 notes of music, but there is a couple of terms that we need to focus on to make sure that you're actually getting the right thing. So, first of all, what we're looking at here are two particular words. We've got what's called a half tone, also known as a semitone, and then we've got the whole tone, okay, which is also known as a tone. Or you can call them half step, whole step. It's the more American term for it, but in England and Australia, usually it's a semitone and tone, but I'm using a little bit more of an Americanized version over the last couple of years or so, and I'm going to be referring to them as halftone and whole tone. Okay, so what are a halftone and a whole tone? Well, first of all, a halftone is actually the distance of one note to the immediate next. So if you are looking at a piano, for example, a halftone would be from one white key to a black key, if it's immediately next to it, or it could be from a white key to another white key if there is no black keys in between it. So an example of this would be playing the note C on a keyboard and then playing a C sharp, or going backwards, playing a C and then going to a B. A lot of these intervals can go up or down. It's still the distance, it's still the note that's next to it, it's just a matter of whether it's going up or down. So, halftone, that's what that is. A whole tone is the distance of two halftones. So, instead of going from C to C sharp, you would be going C to D. Same going backwards. Instead of going from C to B, you'd be going C to B flat. Okay? And this works on pretty much every instrument. So it works on guitar, works on trumpet, works on xylophone, whatever. Okay? So, we've got those two terms down, okay? Now, I'm going to introduce you to the actual wheel itself. So I'm going to step over the side, and hopefully you can see this here, okay? So what I've done, I use this chromatic wheel. I used to call it chromatic circle, but I didn't want it to get confused with like the circle of fifths or circle of fourths or anything like that. So I changed it to chromatic wheel, okay? Because essentially you can rotate this around, and you can put any note in any, you can start off with any note in any position, that's all fine, but as long as you follow all 12 notes in order, okay, as well as the enharmonic notes, so they're the notes that have two separate names but still sound the same, okay, and we're going to refer to this. I'm going to show you how this works, okay. So the chromatic wheel basically starts off with one of the notes at the top, okay, and we just follow each step around here almost like a clock facing. It's got 12 different points to it. Each one of these points is going to have the next musical or the next note, okay. So C, after C comes a C sharp or a D flat, then D sharp or A flat, and then E, and so forth, okay. It just goes all the way that way. As soon as we get to G or G sharp, as soon as we get to G sharp and A flat, it goes to A, okay? It repeats around that way. So, and it just keeps going round and round and round, all right? Hence the wheel concept. All right, so why am I organizing it this way? It's easier, I use it this way instead of just putting out I use this not for, to start people off. This is a very beginner sort of aspect to it, an easy way to visualize the concept of how notes work with each other, all right? And let's see how halftones and whole tones fit into this as well, okay? So now we're going to introduce to you how to work a major scale. So how to actually create a major scale out of this one. So I'm going to grab another texture for this one. I've already got a few, but I'll grab another one. So a major scale is, I would consider it the foundations or the building blocks for every other type of scale there is, okay? And there's a particular pattern we use for the major scale using halftones and whole tones. There's a particular pattern we can use, okay? So to create a major scale, all right, I'm just going to write it up here really quickly. So to create a major scale, we need to follow a particular pattern of halftones and whole tones, okay? And I'm going to note them down by just the by W and H. I'm going to use those letters to signify whether it's a whole tone or a half tone. So, to do a major scale, the pattern for this is going to be whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay? We're going to follow that particular pattern. That pattern there is going to dictate how many steps we go around in order to find the notes of a major scale. Okay? Let's try it out. Okay? All right, we'll set this one. So let's say, okay, let's try and find out. Let's just use this we'll just use C major as a basic one for now, okay? And then we can use it in other keys as well to find out their major scales too. So let's start off with C. Okay, this is my starting point. That's all fine. So we're going to be following this particular pattern. We've got whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Now we are counting the spaces in between the notes. We're not this doesn't signify the notes themselves, okay? So once we've got our starting point, we need to go a whole step, okay? What is a whole step? It's a distance of two whole tone, distance of two half tones, okay? So we need to go one half tone, because that's the immediate next note, and then two half tones. So then I'm gonna end up on D, okay? And just to make sure that this all works, I'm gonna write C major here. So a C major scale, let's write all the notes that we land on. So we start on C, we've just landed on D, okay? D's our next note. All right, put a smaller circle there. From here, we need to go another whole note. So we again, we go 1, 2, okay? We land on E. All right, from here, we need to go a half step. Or a half tone. So a distance of one note to the immediate next. So what's immediately after E? F, okay? So then we jump to F, there we go. From F, we have another, I'll write that up here, sorry, F, okay? Another whole tone from there, that's fine. Whole tone, 1, 2, we end up on G, okay? From G, we do another whole tone, which if we count this in, 1, 2, we land on A. So A is my next note. We do another whole tone. So from A, 1, 2, we land on B. Okay, and then we do a half tone after that. And we end back on C. So, a major scale is going to be constructed of 8 particular notes. 2 of them are repeated. Your starting note should be the same as your ending note. All right, if they're not, you're stuffed up somewhere. All right, but this, okay, as long as you follow this particular pattern and you can count properly, it's foolproof. This works in every single key possible. Let's do another one. All right, let's start on E flat. We'll go here. All right, and the reason I'm saying E flat and not D sharp is that E flat is a more common scale to use in accordance to the circle of fifths than a D sharp is. All right, now from E flat, we need to follow this particular pattern, okay? So our starting note, E flat, we need to do a whole tone, okay? Again, start from here, 1, 2, F. F is my second note. From F, we do another whole tone, okay? 1, 2. We land on G, okay? From G, we've got a half tone. So we end up on A flat. Now the reason we use an A flat and not a G sharp is because we've already used the G, okay? We've already used the G note. We want to try and use every single letter of the musical alphabet once, okay? So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we want to use them only once in our scales. We don't want to have to repeat it, because if I use G, G sharp, and then went to another note, I'm going to be completely skipping the A's and it just doesn't make sense. So you want to use the letters once each scale, ideally, okay? So from G to G sharp, G to A flat, I'm just trying to prove my point there. So A flat is my next one. All right, A flat. I've got to go a whole tone from A flat, 1, 2, okay, ends up on B flat, that's normal. Okay, then we'll go another whole tone, 1, 2. C is my next note, got to do another whole tone, 1, 2, ends up on D. and then a halftone. E. I land back on E flat. Sorry. All right. Again, like I said, as long as you follow this pattern, it is foolproof. You can come up with every single major scale combinations just by following that pattern and using this diagram here. It all works out, all right? I've used this for many of my year 10 classes when I've been teaching music, and yeah, it's worked pretty effectively. I'm not trying to say it's the best way to go about it, but it's just worked for me. It works for me when I explain it. It works for the students when they're trying it out. If you have any other ideas on how to go about doing this sort of stuff, awesome. Try it out. See how it works. Let me know how it goes and exactly what you've done to it. But otherwise, this is how you go about using the chromatic wheel, particularly when it comes to learning major scales. I hope that helps you out, and yeah, we'll see how things go from there. All right, enjoy yourself. Keep working on the music theory. Keep practicing, and yeah, I'll check you out next time.